All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today, we're going to be talking about the Red River Showdown as this year's title. It's been the Red River rivalry, the shootout, now the Showdown. I think it was a Showdown back a few years ago too. The name changes all the time, but the two teams don't, and it's going to be at the Cotton Bowl, the Great Cotton Bowl. It's going to be a fantastic game. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit of recruiting updates. Oklahoma's picked up a few crystal balls for kids recently. And then we'll end it with, like we usually do, with our picks for this weekend. Clearly, our friend Brumbaugh's not here. He's off at some work stuff, but we'll be making our picks. He will not, clearly, since he's not here. But luckily, he's been.
We can text him and get his picks.
Yeah, but he's been very cold recently, so I think a week off might be good for him to try to get on that hot streak once he comes back.
Yeah.
But before we get into everything, as Brum always says, hit the like, subscribe, comment, share the video, share the live streams. We're live every Tuesday, 8:30-ish, depending on some scheduling stuff. But more often than not, 8:30, turn on the notification bell so that you know when we do go live and when we post new videos. All right, let's get into it. So we talked about the Texas game during our live earlier in the week. We went pretty in depth. Basically went position by position, it seemed like, because we talked about it for about 50 minutes. But let's do a little bit overview, kind of recap what we talked about. Brandon, what are you looking at or looking forward to for this weekend? Obviously, outside of being in Dallas, like you mentioned during the live stream, but game-wise, what are you excited about watching for the Oklahoma Sooners? And what is something that you could see being dangerous from the Texas side?
Excited to see how the offense gets out there against a pretty decent Texas defense. Hopefully, they get after it early, get some points on the board early, put the pressure on Texas early. I think that's one of the keys of the game. And then the thing I'm nervous about, like I talked about in the live stream. By the way, I said Javonte Cook in the live stream 100 times, which I don't know how that happened. That's not a guy. Jonathan Brooks is the Texas running back, and he's the guy that worries me the most, I think, because he's averaging, as we talked about in the stream, he's having a hell of a season. He's got about 600 yards through 5 games, averaging over almost 7 yards a carry, 5 or 6 touchdowns. I can't remember exactly, but the dude's having a season. And they're going to try to get him involved early and often. And if he is averaging 5 or 6 yards a carry against Oklahoma, we're going to be in trouble, as I said in the live stream, and I'm going to stand by that. So hopefully Oklahoma is able to contain the run, and we're able to establish the run for ourselves. And I think if those two things happen, we're going to be in a good spot.
For sure, and that is definitely going to be the biggest thing, right? How can Oklahoma stop the run? Can they stop the run, or efficient in run defense at least? I think he's becoming a guy very much like Bijan had been for the Longhorns for previous seasons, where you don't really stop him, you just gotta slow him down and not make him the reason that you lose. And it's going to sound crazy, especially to Texas fans, if any of them are watching, because they were definitely watching the live stream. You got to let Quinn Ewers beat you. And Teddy Lehman kind of talked during the Oklahoma Breakdown podcast. If you guys don't watch it, definitely watch it because it's entertaining. And obviously two guys that are very familiar with the Oklahoma Sooners, the football program, in the past and now. Quinn Ewers isn't Caleb Williams, he's not Michael Penix, but he's also not a guy you can take lightly. You got a game plan for him, especially with this offense. Is definitely very much like some of the best offenses we've seen in college football, where things kind of just get open. It's not so much you got to force him to make the mistake, and he's shown that he can make mistakes. Oklahoma's got to capitalize on him. Turnovers are going to be what's going to kill whoever the losing team is probably going to be the one that just can't take care of the ball. And it sounds like, duh, Jose, clearly if you turn the ball over, you're going to lose the game. That's not always the case. You can kind of climb out of those if your team is good enough overall and are playing complementary football. But in a game like this, it's ball security. It's job security, classic saying. So Quinn Ewers is clearly going to be the guy that you've got to, I guess, if anything, he's going to be the one to beat Oklahoma. And he can. So, again, don't take him lightly. The offensive line are very good. I would say very good offensive line, probably ahead of schedule for how young they are. I think most guys are second-year players for that Texas offensive line. So not want to be taken lightly, and the defensive line for Oklahoma is definitely going to have a huge test. I think where Oklahoma really can benefit here, I mean, they got to establish a run game, but I think where Oklahoma can benefit is vertical passing, or the vertical threat here. I don't think Texas has really shown that they can stop a big game, but they haven't really been challenged either. So we haven't seen if they're, a top tier pass defense yet. Oklahoma's loved over the last few games just throwing those deep bombs, and whatever people like to think about Dylan Gabriel, he can hit those deep balls. That he might not be able to throw them 80 yards down the field, but you don't really see very many of those quarterbacks in college football. You got to go to the NFL to see guys just flick of the wrist, throw 70 yards, and make it look effortless.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we talked about it in the live stream too. Guys like Brennan Thompson, he showed out a little bit in the Iowa State game. Maybe he can get his chance. I agree with Quinn though too. I think that's the best thing you said there. And that they were talking about that on the Sports Animal this morning too. It's a thing, man. I mean, Quinn Ewers he's good to great. I'd even say, but like the talent around him is what really makes him really good. He's got probably the best receiving duo in the country. Really good running back. So he doesn't have to do a lot necessarily to win for that Texas team. He's got a lot of weapons around him. But I mean, if you can get them in long distance downs and get after him, he is prone to making some mistakes or throwing some jump balls up there. And I think Oklahoma has to take advantage of that because, yeah, like we talked about in the live stream, sacks, penalties, turnovers, those usually lose you a game. And this game, as you alluded to, is going to lose you this game. If we have 10 penalties and Texas has 2 and we get sacked 4 times, they get sacked once, and we have 2 turnovers, so they're none. Sometimes you can come out of that. It's not going to happen against Texas, and vice versa if the roles are reversed. You have to play a really sound, smart football game. Both teams do. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, and for the Oklahoma, it's going to be interesting because Jatavion Sanders, Texas tight end, he did go down in this last weekend's game against Kansas, and he didn't come back. I believe he is designated day-to-day, and I'm sure they're going to drag that one out as long as they can to kind of keep Oklahoma guessing. Because if he does come in, I would assume he will play, right? Because it's Red River. But if he doesn't play, then that is one less weapon for Oklahoma to worry about because he's probably going to be the more dangerous one. I think Dasan McCullough is still very new to this defense, and he has improved over the last, from game 1 to game 2. Since returning from his injury that happened in game 1 of the season. But he hasn't played a tight end like Jatavion Sanders, who is, I guess if you're gonna compare him to maybe a different college tight end, he's very Kyle Pitt like when he was in Florida. Very long, athletic. I'm sure he can block a little bit, but you see him more as a receiving threat. If he's not playing, that's clearly very good for Oklahoma. But if he is playing, then you're going to see it's going to be Dasan McCullough is going to have to be the breakout player for the Oklahoma defense. Because I think that Danny Stutzman is going to do what Stutzman does, what he has done for 5 games now for Oklahoma this season. And, I mean, I don't know if I expect a big game from the defensive line. I mean, it sucks to say, but we do need them to be good because they have to put pressure in Quinn Ewers' face. And I don't think Oklahoma hasn't been able to produce pressure. They just haven't been able to finish at the quarterback. That's one of the things you mentioned in our live stream when we were recapping Iowa State. If for the drive where they got a field goal, Kendall Dolby finishes that sack,
nothing happens.
Kills the drive right there. Like it's about finishing at the quarterback. They haven't been great at it this year, so it's going to be something that's going to be key here. And it's not like Quinn Ewers isn't elusive. He's not, running a huge running threat or a running quarterback, but he can make plays on his feet. So you got to be able to finish when you get to him.
Yeah, guys like Peyton Bowen and Reggie Pearson too are gonna have to step up big on defense, as we talked about in the live stream. Especially with Sanders and stuff like that, they're gonna have to help in coverage sometimes. Peyton Bowen's just gonna have to keep doing Peyton Bowen things, simply put. And Reggie Pearson, as we talked about in the stream, man, go out there and hit somebody early, and instead of tone and a tempo for this game. And I think that's what we need to do.
Him and Stutz, I think those two are the guys that early game you got to see them make a statement by either making a hard hit or showing that Texas team that it's not the same Oklahoma they played last year, and showing the world, I think at this point, outside of Oklahoma fans, that this isn't the same Oklahoma team that was on the field last year. Not only because they actually have 10, 11 guys on the field on offense, and a competent starting quarterback. But the defense is very different. I mean, even Oklahoma's hasn't played anyone, right? When you look at the strength of schedule so far, but that was the same thing last year, and statistically, very different defenses already. You gotta at least recognize that and assume that Brent Venables is going to game plan. And again, like I said in the live stream, to me, this is a Venables versus Sark. Whose side of the ball is going to be better? Meaning, is Oklahoma's defense going to outgame the Texas offense? And that's going to be what wins the game. Because I think Texas defense isn't amazing, but they're going to make some plays. They've got a good defensive line. I think Oklahoma's offensive line is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with them. And the offense overall will be fine. Especially in the pass game. But if Oklahoma's defense starts to crack a little bit against that offense, they will take advantage. And vice versa. If Oklahoma can start putting some pressure and some heat in Quinn Ewers' face and makes them start kind of rushing things, that's when Oklahoma's going to shine.
Yeah, I think we got to start quick and get after early. And that's the key to this one. I'm very excited for this one, man. It's one of the best OU Texases that I can think of in recent memory as far as an anticipation scale goes.
Yeah, the hype leading up to it is definitely not familiar territory. At least not in recent history. Maybe the Kyler Murray year, but even still, I don't know if it was this much hype going into it, because for the first time since 2011, both teams are undefeated, and I think like we talked about in our live stream. If this is a very close game, whatever the result is, the loser still has a very good shot of being in the college football playoffs, because the SEC doesn't look powerful like they have in the past. The Big Ten is going to beat each other up like they always do. And the Pac-12 will as well. I don't think the Pac-12 is really fun to watch right now, but come November, there's probably a good chance that two of those powerhouse teams that we see now are going to have 2 losses. And there's a very good chance that the winner of this goes undefeated for the rest of the regular season, leading to the Big 12 championship, and the loser goes undefeated as well, meeting up again in the Big 12. And the Big 12, it's going to suck for them, especially the commissioner. It's not Yormak's fault. I think the old commissioner kind of screwed the pooch here for the Big 12, but this could be the season where this conference is the one that gets 2 playoff teams in.
Yeah, I mean that would be a great way to go out of the conference. Both OU and Texas leaving, getting into the playoff as Big 12 members. That would be quite LOL.
And I think it kind of shuts up some of those SEC homers, because I'm sure Oklahoma fans, and I think this is one place where OU and Texas fans can agree. Those SEC homers that are always saying you don't know what you're getting into when you get into the SEC. Texas is, for now, they look good, and Oklahoma's Oklahoma. Outside of last year, they haven't shown that they're a terrible team. They don't know what's coming to them.
I agree.
The fans and the atmospheres that will be going to their home games. And I'm not saying that they suck, but we're not, Vanderbilt walking into that conference.
Facts. Yeah, no, I agree. We want to do some score predictions for this one and then roll on to some recruiting and picks.
Let's do it. So what's your score prediction here?
On the live stream, I said 38-27. I'm going to stick to it. I do think Oklahoma wins.
I'm going to do a small modification to mine just because it was a weird number. I'm going to go 33-28. I think that's where Oklahoma...
You were calling back-to-back safeties for a little bit.
Yeah, I was calling for that for OU, but 33-28. I think it's going to be a very close game throughout for both teams.
Yep. Should be fun. It's go time.
All right, let's talk a little bit of recruiting. It's kind of been dead on the recruiting front here, but it seems like there's some steam picking up for Oklahoma, especially on the offensive line. We won't talk too much in depth about these guys because we've talked about them for a year plus now for some of these guys. OU's picked up crystal balls or future casts, whatever you want to call them, for 4-star interior lineman Eddie Pierre-Louis. They picked up one for Daniel Akinkunmi, the NFL Academy guy, who, if you haven't watched his official visit video on his YouTube channel, you should definitely go check it out.
Yeah,
it's really cool
awesome
to see that kind of stuff, especially from a player's perspective. And then another crystal ball for Marcus James, an athlete out of Carl Albert here in Oklahoma. That seems to be a factory for Oklahoma right now. I mean, Brandon,
Take
again, you
it.
don't have to talk too much about him, but the offensive line recruiting is heating up here for the 2024 class. And I think some of those Coach B doubters are starting, can kind
Oh
of
yeah.
quiet down.
Eddie Pierre-Louis is a guy that excites me a lot, man. The dude is like 6'4", 360. He's old teammates with Lewis Carter. That doesn't suck, I think, in Oklahoma's chances of landing him. But dude's a freak athlete. And for a guy that is as big as he is, he lined up at guard and tackle in 2022. He plays basketball and track, or he does like throwing events and track. But and then he also lined up on the defensive side of the ball for his high school. Got about 8 tackles, a couple for a loss, and like a half sack. So the dude is just athletically doing all sorts of different things. And for a guy that is as big as he is to do that, I think it's wildly impressive. I definitely want Oklahoma to land him for the 2024 class on the O line.
And a little bit, I think I agree with Eddie. I think he's the one that excites me the most as well. And in track, actually, quick correction, he also runs the 100-meter dash at least, and
And that's
dude keeps up with those smaller kids. He's a very athletic guy for as big as he is.
that's
And
crazy for a dude who's 360.
yeah, it's gonna be fun for him to watch, especially well wherever he goes to school. But obviously, we're hoping he goes to Oklahoma. If he's a pulling guard, someone that big that is that athletic that he can actually get there before any defensive lineman even knows he's coming. That run game should improve when you have a guy that agile and big coming over to help in the run game. And then a guy that Oklahoma did land very, very recently, Jonathan Hatton, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Jonathan Hatton Jr., 2026, a long time from now. 4-star running back out of San Antonio. Watching him, I mean, it was a surprise commitment. I don't think anyone really expected that to happen because we all know the visit policy. We know how Oklahoma expects their commits to not be going basically anywhere else, especially on official visits. That's a big no-no. He's clearly bought in very, very early. Hopefully that sticks up until the day that he signs that piece of paper that says he's going to be a Sooner. But early on, he looks like a guy that has a lot of potential, big upside, and who knows, could be creeping into a 5-star range by the time his recruiting class is actually getting fully covered.
So much upside. Yeah, I mean, he's nationally in the 2026 class in the top 70, 66. 24/7 has him in the top 80. I think he's like 79 there. But I mean, the dude as a freshman averaged like 5 yards a carry. He only got 39 touches as far as running the ball goes, but put up like 210 yards, a couple touchdowns, caught a couple passes, got great size, great speed. I think they have him listed at 6'1", 200. Yeah, it's cool to be in on a kid this early. Yeah, like you said, hopefully the only thing that you worry about now is that is like forever away. So hopefully that does stay. Then it's a big get. He's going to be a top 5 running back in the class. I think he will push 5-star by the time it comes. He was at the Iowa State game, I think. So that, it shows the visits work there already very early. I don't even know if Oklahoma expected him to commit that early. I'm sure they know more than we do, but like that, it's crazy how fast he did that and how he pulled the trigger.
Yeah, and I guess it's going to be about keeping DeMarco Murray because when a guy commits that early, you would assume that if DeMarco's not there, there's a good chance that he at least reconsiders his commitment by the time, again, that he signs that piece of paper. But I don't
100%.
see DeMarco going anywhere,
Yeah.
given that he's a Sooner.
Once he gets a head coaching offer, I think that's the only way he'd leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we would all assume that would be fair for him to leave to step out of the coordinator or assistant or position coach role and going to head coaching role.
Oh, yeah.
That is what he would want to do. But yeah, that covers recruiting. Short and sweet. I think Oklahoma's going to be on the right track, and 2024 is going to finish strong. Flip season is still a while from now, so we're not going to be actually talking about any rumors that are going around the internet. But it'll be exciting once that time does come. The time that we are in. Time to talk about all of college football and our weekly picks for week 6 of the college football season. I've got 9 this weekend, so I would say I've toned it down a little bit for week 6. Brandon, I think you said you have 6 because you're still playing scared.
I am 9-9 in the season. Keep going 3-3.
Mm-hmm. And then I think my record overall, I wouldn't, not amazing. It is 20. Dang it, where I just had it here. It's like 24 and 30 or something like that. So got a ways to climb to get back to that 500 range. All right.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm
You
actually
want
like
me
15 and 15. I don't know what I'm talking about because I have 6 picks a week.
Yeah. You want me to start? Get a couple out the way.
Yeah, you can do your first two, and then
all right. So I'll do my first two, and I have a feeling that you probably have these, so they shouldn't count towards the total. Here are for the OU Texas game. I've got Oklahoma covering 6.5 is where we recently found the line, and then the under of 60.5 points. I think this is going to be a very hard fought battle.
Well, I have the over in my score prediction at 38-27, but I don't know. We'll see. I hope. I also have OU covering at plus 6.5. So I guess my first pick I have Kansas State playing Friday night against Okie Light. They have that at 12-point Kansas State. I think Kansas State covers easy. I think Kansas State's decent. I think Oklahoma State is the second worst team in the league. Give me the Wildcats winning big.
So I'm on the same game, but different play here. I saw a stat earlier today because I was very confident. I thought that was going to be one of my picks today, but I saw that after a bye week, Kleinman has a losing record, and that kind of scared me, even though we both agree. I agree with you that Oklahoma State is very, 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 very bad. So I took the under because I don't think Oklahoma State can score points, and assuming they might win by a field goal if Kleinman does continue that losing trend, but it'll be like a 21-17 kind of battle where it's not a lot of points scored.
All right. Well, so then my third one, I'm going out west, Washington State, UCLA. They're giving Washington State 3 points as the number 13 team in the country. I understand UCLA is decent, but I understand that Washington State's on the road, but it's not like there's a time change from Washington to California. It's not like it's a very far flight. It's like going Oklahoma to Texas. I don't understand really why UCLA is getting 3 points. I feel like I have the better team here, and they're giving me 3 points. So yeah, give me Washington State plus 3 all day long.
I wish I had that kind of confidence. That line scared me. That's why I'm not touching that game. But my next one is Maryland at Ohio State. Maryland is undefeated at this point in the season, so we've got an undefeated matchup here in the Big Ten. Maryland is 19.5-point underdogs here. I know it is at Ohio State, but Ohio State's offense hasn't looked like the Ohio State offense that we've seen over the last few years with C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields at the helm. I think Kyle McCord is starting to get better as the season's progressed, but Talia Tagovailoa, that dude has been killing it passing the game. I don't think he's thrown for less than 300. Maybe it was like 350 in a game this season. So that defense for Ohio State's going to be tested at it, but I do think that this is going to be a lot closer than 19.5 points.
Oh yeah, I like it. So my next one, I'm going to Kyle Field. You guys know how I feel about A&M. Can't stand them. Hate them. Hate Miami. Hate a lot of schools, but those two, really not a big fan of. The line is set at 1.5 for Alabama. Alabama minus 1.5. This A&M team got boat raced by a shitty Miami team and two of the biggest idiots playing college football of the season. I'm going to take Alabama to win by at least 1.5, which is I think Alabama wins by a field goal or more. Give me Alabama minus 1.5 in Kyle Field.
So I'm going to skip to that game. I have the under in that game. The point total is 46.5. The only reason I'm not picking Alabama like you did, Brandon, is because it is at Kyle Field, and even when they had very good quarterback play, they weren't great on the road. I think A&M is going to struggle offensively against a defense like Alabama's. So I'm going to just take the under and assume that it's just going to be kind of a shitty game offensively.
Yeah, so next, in honor of OU Texas weekend, I'm going to go with one of the Stoops bros out there in Kentucky. They're playing Georgia this weekend. Kentucky, Georgia. They have the line minus 15 for Georgia. If you watched Georgia last week, I understand they were on the road at Auburn, but Auburn's not very good. They were right there to the very end, literally to the last possession. I think 15 points is a lot. Kentucky's a pretty solid football team. They just beat the brakes off Florida. They're 5-0, just newly into the top 25. I don't think they lose that badly. I think 15 is too much. Give me Kentucky plus 15.
That's a good one right there. My next one is LSU at Missouri. That point total is 64.5. I'm taking the under again there. I don't trust either of these teams to score that many points. I think it was Luther Burden has shown that he's one of the best wide receivers in the country with the stats he's putting up. Um, I just don't see it. I mean, the LSU offense or defense is really, really bad, but I don't trust the Mizzou offense enough to put up that many points on LSU.
Yeah, Mizzou's offense is going crazy right now with Theo Weiss and Luther Burden. It's just crazy.
Yep.
What could have been, right?
What could have been.
So my last one, I'm going to go to another Big 12 matchup, and it's TCU Iowa State. I don't think either team's very good. I have TCU -6. I just think they beat Iowa State by about 10, 30-20 type game. Give me the Horned Frogs.
Fair. My next one is my weekly Iowa under. They're playing Purdue this week. The point total went up. I think last week it was 36.5. Now it's 39.5, making me a little bit more comfortable here taking the under because Iowa still cannot score the ball.
What is your record on Iowa unders this year?
This year, 3-2. I know they
covered
winning. I think they covered week 2 because they played someone really, really bad and their offense considered being good. They scored 40-something points. But also Cade McNamara is out for the year. So it doesn't help their case there.
Facts. I'm out of picks, so
you're out of picks?
You're out. That's the last one.
So I got 2 more. Colorado at ASU. I'm taking the Buffs as much as I know you probably hate me saying that, and many people that are watching this hate me saying that. ASU is so bad. I think Jaden Rashad is still not back. I think ASU played a hell of a game against USC, and probably fair to assume they're going to just try to run the ball for a lot of this game.
Is that Arizona State playing a hell of a game or just USC's defense being that bad?
Probably a little bit of both, because going into that game, I did not think Arizona State had a fighting chance against those guys because they looked so bad against Oklahoma State. But they managed to cover in that game. I think Colorado had a little bit of a wake-up call last weekend versus USC. They know they're not the shit anymore, but they also believe that they can be better than they've shown over the last 2 weeks. So I would expect the offense to be doing better. I don't know if Travis Hunter's coming back this weekend, but
I don't think so. I think he's still got a couple weeks.
All right. Well, either way, I still think Shedeur Sanders can torch that ASU defense because whatever quarterback played for Oklahoma State sure as hell was able to. And then my last one is Texas Tech at Baylor. I'm taking Baylor plus 1.5. Texas Tech can't play anywhere but Lubbock. Basically the reasoning there.
Well, that's fair. I mean, yeah, it adds up. Should be a fun week college football. Hopefully, I get off the 3-3 weekly thing this week, but we'll see. And hopefully, Oklahoma wins by 100.
Try to bet 8 next time.
Next week, I'll bet 8 if I go 3. If I go 3-3 again, I'll bet 8 next week.
Deal. All right. Well, there's another video in the books. Thank you guys all for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I think there was 17 people. You said subscribed it during the live.
17 during the live, or at least since I checked it.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So shout out to you guys for joining the crew here. Keep sharing the videos, the lives. Join us on those lives every Tuesday around 8:30 Central Time. And for those of you that didn't watch the live stream, I'm going to take over the end of video challenge for today. We're going to just go ahead and roll back to the end of live stream challenge. Correct score. If you get the correct score for the OU Texas game, you'll be entered 3 times for the UCF ticket giveaway that we'll be announcing probably in next Friday's video. And then closest score, if no one gets it right, will get a free T-shirt, one of our new shirts, free T-shirt from us. And if you want to buy one of those T-shirts, link is in the description. Short sleeve is $24. Long sleeve is $27. If you order now, you'll have it right in time for the UCF game. For those of you that are going to the game, check it out. Link is in the description. In front of it says things that don't suck. Back, Gamedays and Norman. And I think we can all agree on that one.
It's a fun shirt.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys watching. We will see you on Tuesday.